Hi everybody, it's me with another video along the same lines as the ones before, collecting on a shoestring budget. This time I want to present a work to explore a topic that I found it a bit complex to explain. With this work I want to cover a criterion that I found that is extremely strong, extremely important, and is a major driver in when it comes to art appreciation and eventually art collecting, the decision, which is emotion. And by emotion I mean a sensitivity, a personal sensitivity. Through that sensitivity is really that connecting point between the artist expression, what the artist wants to tell me through the painting, and my interpretation. It is my interpretation of it. There's always that middle point between what is written and what is being understood. And I want to use this particular word to convey that example. Walk you guys through on my process, on my thought process. When I decided when I saw the work for the first time, and eventually what triggered me to eventually buy it. I will break down the analysis in three, or my story in three. I'm going to break down first of all on the artistic skill, on the artwork in itself. So I'm going to talk about the technicalities of it and the technical aspects of it. Then I will elaborate on my interpretation of the artistic expression, what the artist is trying to convey through the work, and then my relation to that. So I will do the reading of the work, and then my reading comprehension, how I understand the work, and eventually I will condense all that into the decision. What triggered me to eventually decide I want to collect it, and I want this work to stay. To be part of the collection. I bought this work a while ago. I cannot remember. I know that the work it was produced in 2015. I bought this work years ago. I don't really have the dates with me. And I remember seeing it pretty much. The gallery was starting to work with the artist. It was really like just pretty much started talking to the artist to see if they wanted to collaborate in the future. And I remember seeing that work. It was actually, they just received the work. The first thing that caught my attention was the technicality, the technical gift of Sibo. For those that are, sorry, did I mention so the artist is Sibo. He's an artist from China. And the first thing that struck me when I saw the work was how technically gifted that this work was. Sibo's very unique technique to nurse color to compose light. Sibo for me is an artist of light rather than color. His color management, his color theory is so advanced that he managed to do this transitions, right? These very delicate transitions, these shadows and depth and so on, and layerings to convey, to not only tell you what to show you a composition and tell you what the background is, but also to convey you a feel, to add an atmosphere to the work. And that adds a lot of depth. Through light management, not only he's conveying the park and the landscape, but he also adding a lot of atmosphere onto the work. So he puts these different layers. And what I love about this work is because you have these multiple points of entry. By what I mean is you have the light source that is undefined, so it makes it like sort of like a godlike type of source light coming in, which makes it very ethereal and it's floating, but not in its totality. Is certainly lighting up a particular elements, but it keeps the darkness behind, which is a very strong element of the work in my opinion. So you can explore the work on how the light actually comes in and start like flowing into the scene, but you also can look into the darkness and how the darkness remained untamed, that even though you have this lightness coming in, the darkness in itself remains untamed. and adds a lot of depth into the work. That you know that there's something mysterious behind it. And the other aspect, which is this part, right, which is primarily like the street, which is being lighted up very, very, very shyly, and then the lamp, which you cannot see the post. You can only see the three lights being lighted up, which give you that sense of hope. That is actually my interpretation of the technical skill, right? The artist is feeling that he wants to convey, he wants to certainly tell me that there's more than just a scene, that it's just more than a tree at night in a park. He wants to add atmosphere. He wants me to feel something. That brings me to the second point. What is my reading? How I interpret this work? Why is the artist trying to tell me? The artist is very sensitive because he's asking me to explore that balance. And by that balance between like clarity and obscurity, he's inviting me to explore that I would say conflict, but that balance, that harmony that always exists between the two. And for this one, for me, this work is very clear. He's inviting me to explore that balancing act between light and darkness. And by putting this atmosphere of an empty lot, which a lot of Masibos, he paints humans, but a vast majority of his works are on empty spaces. He's inviting me to explore perhaps my solitude or my self-reflection, and explore that balance that I also have. When you self-explore, you have all these thoughts that are very dark and you might feel that they have no clear direction. There's a lot of unclarity on self-reflection, but there's always these points of light that they guide you through. A few years ago, I remember being in Europe. I was in the Netherlands, in Utrecht, and I left the train. I was heading to the hotel, and I left the train station, and it was in November, which is there's a lot of like a fog, heavy fog in the city. And I remember walking around in a scene very similar to this. And I do remember that it was quite late at night, and I was walking with the luggage trying to find a hotel. And the only thing that I can see is being surrounded by this very ghostly atmosphere with the fog, and seeing the lights of the lamps that they were kind of like guiding me through. And eventually I saw the hotel. And you have that sense of relief that you know where you're heading. And this work gives me that when I see this work, it gives me that sense of reflection, that when I decide to reflect on my solitude, which is denoted here by this darkness, there's always these patches of light or even a greater light that is actually reassuring me that everything is going to be all right. When I interpret that reading that I had, that very personal reading, I have to say that is my personal interpretation, and it was very strong. I had a strong affinity to it, with a technical gift of the artist, and perhaps what the artist was trying to tell me. And when I combined them all together, and I found the dialogue from the technical aspect, from what the artist is trying to convey, to how the feel that I get out of this work, which is very is on self-reflection. It invited me to self-reflect. I realized that this is a work that I can appreciate for hours non-stop. This work was I mean, I moved my works often at home, and this work stayed in my living room for a very long time, and it was on the wall opposite my sofa. So when I was sitting reading or so on, I used to pretty much stare at this work, and it used to open up my mind to self-reflection. And for me, that is critical, when I can connect to a work, when I can have a dialogue with a work that is beyond the plain aesthetics, but that is beyond, it looks pretty and so on. Is this work, at least my interpretation, is not here to decorate my house. Is here to tell me that it's okay to let myself venture into the unknown and venture into my solitude and my darkness, and let it explore and let all that yield out. It's almost like going to therapy. I found this work extremely psychological, and I absolutely love it. I'm a collector of Masibos. I have quite a number of them, and pretty much all the feel that I get on all his works is quite similar. I always get this there's a sensitivity that rises up in me when I see one of his works. So I hope it was clear enough. I think I think you guys get the idea. And what I invite you is, if you have a work or you're thinking about collecting a work and you are having an emotional connection but you don't know what it is, my suggestion is perhaps don't fight it and just let it flow. Stare for that work for longer than necessary, and eventually you'll have that dialogue. I'm putting it on the collecting on a shoestring budget series, because I collected it a while ago, years ago, and when the artist was pretty much emerging. Sibo now has a certain commercial success, so it's not only me but people elsewhere, like from Europe and Asia and so on, in Americas, are having that dialogue with Sibo's works. I'm finding that dialogue, that deeper dialogue with his works and with what he's trying to do, but through his technique. Okay, so yeah, so this was another video, and I hope you guys like it. And again, feel free to message me anytime. Okay, cheers, bye.